Hi everyone, it's Graciela here. I'm going to give you a presentation about the history of the web and technology and a new career called UX UI design. Before I became a teacher, I used to be a UX UI designer. And I know a lot about this career because I lived in San Francisco. And I know that you're learning about jobs right now. So I'm going to give you a little history about technology and how this career came into existence. First, I'm going to start by talking about the pioneers of tech that are important. Charles Babbage was the first mechanical computer inventor. He lived from 1791 to 1871. He was known as the father of the computer. He was from England. He was a polymath, philosopher, inventor, and mechanical engineer. And his machines became the basic architecture for what we have today. He invented something called the analytic engine. And this is a very important invention because it marked the transition from mechanized arithmetic to fully fledged general purpose computation. Now, the computers that he designed used punching cards. So this is a piece of paper with many little holes in it. But eventually it turned into the computers that we have today. There are also important women who contributed to technology, such as Augusta Byron. She was the first computer programmer. She lived from 1815 to 1852. So she developed a very important algorithm that made the analytical engine work, and it's based on a set of Bernoulli numbers. These are Italian numbers. And she also wrote and translated literature to help support the project. So she's very important to the field of internet technology and computer programming. Now I'm going to tell you about some important engineers and business magnates. Sir Tim Berners-Lee was an electronics engineer. He's considered to be the inventor of the web, also from England. He's still alive. He's currently age 64. So he's credited for inventing the term HTTP. Every time you go to a website, you probably see these four letters before the address, right? HTTP stands for Hyper Text Transfer Protocol. This is usually in the address of a website that you visit. This is a picture of what many of the first websites look like. Actually, this was the very first website developed at CERN. CERN, C-E-R-N, was an international organization from Switzerland. And they were there in Switzerland on August 6th. 28 years ago, this website went live. In 1991 was the exact year. So this was the first website. As you can see, it's very white. There's not a lot of color. There's some blue. The hyperlinks, you can see they're underlined. So this is one of the very, very first website that was ever made public. Now I'm going to tell you about Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. These are the two men who invented Apple computers in 1976. Steve Wozniak was the brains. He was the one who did the programming, and he's still alive today, 69 years old. And Steve Jobs unfortunately passed away. He was 56, but he was the co-founder. They both worked together in a garage in the San Francisco Bay Area to invent Apple computers. This is what one of the very first prototypes of an Apple computer looked like. As you can see, it's made out of wood. A lot of prototypes were made out of wood before they were made out of plastic and massively produced for the public. So you can see it has some very humble beginnings. This is what it looked like in 1976 when they first started developing the Apple computer. Now, there were other people who were making computers as well, not just Apple. There was Bill Gates and Paul Allen. They developed computers called Microsoft. They're also called PC in 1981. Bill Gates is still alive. He's 64. And Paul Allen passed away when he was 65. So Paul Allen was a computer programmer who did the technical work, like Steve Wozniak. And Bill Gates was sort of the spokesman or the public figure and co-founder. And he's still alive today and very important. You probably see him a lot in the news right now because he's doing a lot of philanthropic work about pandemics and viruses. So he's changed his focus to be totally different. Now, Bill Gates and Paul Allen, they did not invent the PC Microsoft computers in San Francisco. They were in Seattle, Washington. And but they developed the actual building of the computer was in New Mexico. And this happened in 1981, so it was after Apple. And this is what their first computer looked like. If you ask your teachers, or your parents, a lot of them had computers that look like this. Very different. Now I want to tell you about some important women. 1906 to 1992, Grace Hopper was a computer scientist. She was able to do her work because she was a U.S. Navy admiral, which meant that she worked on a ship. So she was the one who designed the first UNIVAC 1 computer, which is the first commercial computer in the United States. So if you take a look at what's behind her, that's the computer. It's pretty big. Now I want to show you what some of the very first websites look like. This is a picture from 1994. And this is a camera that was pointed at a very lonely fish tank. And it was from a company called Netscape, also from the Bay Area, California. It was called the Fish Cam. This was the first camera that was live, and it was just pointed at this fish tank. And it was the first one to ever be shown on the World Wide Web. And it's also the oldest camera site that's still in existence. So that means you can still go to this FishCam website that's been up since 1994. You just need to go to http://fishcam.com. After this video, you can go visit and take a look at if there's any fish swimming. This is a before picture I wanted to show you of a very famous website called IMDb. IMDb stands for Internet Movie Database. Now, you're not going to recognize it because this is what it looked like a long time ago. As you can see, the date below says 1990 to 1996. So, this is what it looks like now. Well, this is actually the second iteration or the second design. As you can see, it's starting to get a lot busier. It has some advertising on the right-hand side. This is more what it looks like today. So this is a very good example of what a UX, UI designer does. As you can see, the design of this website, the layout, is very different from what it looked like in the beginning. This is another, very early website called Lululemon. Lululemon is a company that makes yoga pants. A lot of the websites in the beginning of the internet were very, well, everyone thought that bright colors would be good. But as you can see, they actually kind of hurt your eyes. It kind of strains your eyes. That really bright lime green color in the left-hand side is kind of difficult on the eyes. But in the beginning days of the internet, everybody used these crazy wild colors. And now this is a what the current website looks like, and you can see how the colors are much softer, much more muted. There's a lot of white space, giving you an impression that everything is clean and neat and modern. This is what a UX UI designer would do. Now, I know many of you have probably been to McDonald's. This is what the first McDonald's website looked like. And this is what it looks like today. So this is another example of what a UX UI designer would do. And also, I know a lot of you play video games. This is one of the first video game websites that was ever up in the 90s. It was called Space Jam. Look at all the bright colors and the black. So today you would never see a website design like this. This is what the very first blog looked like. This was invented by a boy named Justin Barger from San Francisco, and this website is still up, actually. You can see the link address in the very top, and you can see how very simple it is. It's just white, black, and blue, and a very small picture, not very much to it. Okay, now I'm going to show you what some modern websites look like today. If you're interested in becoming a UX UI designer, you should know what kind of websites are considered modern and what kind of websites are award-winning. This is one of my favorite websites. It's called Bajormi. It's a website for water. I encourage you to go to the website. It's called thedeepestsite.com. http://thedeepestsite.com. And I'm going to try to visit it for you here so that you can see what I mean. The reason why this is my favorite website is because the experience is pretty cool. Look at this. At the very top right hand side, you can see I'm 2 meters deep into the earth. And if you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, it shows you the earth. And you go through all the layers of sandstone, volcanic rock, flesh, water. And the thing about this website is that it makes you want to keep scrolling and scrolling. It's one of the longest websites. I think it is the longest website in the world. This is what a UX UI designer does, right? The UI shows you what the interface looks like, but the experience is, well, like the feeling, the experience of wanting to keep scrolling is what a UX designer would design, right? So it's a whole other aspect of website design. So go ahead and have fun. If you want to visit this website, see if you can get all the way to the bottom of it. I encourage you. Some people have scrolled all the way to the bottom, and there is a special prize if you actually go all the way to the Earth's core. But only the people who have gotten there know what it is. Okay, let me show you what some award-winning websites. So this is a website of a very famous school in New York called Juilliard, and it won a Webby Award. A Webby Award is a recognition for very good design. Here's another page of the same website. The categories in the Webby Awards are advertising and media, online film and video, mobile sites, apps, and social media. So if you were to become a web designer or UX UI designer, you would want to work very hard to get a Webby Award. Okay, now I'm going to explain to you a little bit more about this profession, UX UI. It's not just design, it's also research. So some of you who like more scientifically minded things may also be interested in this career because it's a little bit of both the left brain and the right brain. So UX UI design has been around for a long time, actually, since 1995. The UX, which stands for user experience, has to do with the technical science part. So the information architect, the research, the science. The UI is the design and the visual artistic side, the colors, the layout, the typography. So this career is very good for someone who actually likes to use both of these techniques or has talents in both of these areas. I'm going to play a video for you now that shows how UX UI designers collect research. So this is a video that shows you, on the very right hand side you can see a man who has these nose hooked up to his forehead and his eyes. And then on the left hand you can see where his eyeball is looking on the website. So you see this is very scientific. There's a camera on him too in black and white on the left hand side. So when a UX UI designer is designing something, they make many different designs. And then they test a real person like this person here. And they track his eyeball movements on the page and everything he does. It's very scientific. So as you can see, this helps the UX UI designer decide where to put important things on the page. It's not just guessing. No, it's research. It's very scientific research. Now, there are some things that have been discovered. Many Western people, when they look at websites, most of the time they look on the top left-hand side. This is a heat map of a website. The red and the yellow show where the eyeball looks the most. Now this would probably not apply to Easterners because Easterners or people in China, they don't read left to right like Westerners read. So a UX UI designer designing a website for a Chinese demographic would probably design it much, much differently, don't you think? But this is a very interesting picture to show you to illustrate where the human eye, the Westerner's human eye, tends to fall on a page and why you would choose to put certain things in certain places on a website. So you might want to put more important things on the top left-hand side on the red parts, right? Instead of the parts that aren't looked at as frequently. So that's what UX UI design is. I hope you're interested in this career. It's still a very new career. And it might be something you're interested in as a job now that you're learning about jobs. Okay, let's do a little quiz, guys. Number 1, how old is the internet? The internet will be 28 years old, August 6, 2020. Number 2, what does HTTP stand for? It stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This was a term invented by Tim Berners-Lee. And number 3, what did the first website look like? Do you remember? The first website had a lot of white space and it was just black text against a white background and blue hyperlinks that were underlined. Very simple. Number 4, what was the first Apple computer prototype made out of? The answer is wood. It was made out of wood. And the mouse was also made out of wood. Number 5, what does UX and UI mean? UX stands for user experience and user interface. Okay guys, that's the end of my presentation. I hope you liked it. I hope you're interested in this new career, UX UI. It's something that I still do part-time. I still like to design and I still like to help people with their websites. And this is what I'm planning on teaching. So maybe one of these days I'll see you at a university and I'll get to teach you UX UI design. If you have any questions, just let me know. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.